Hi, my name is Danielle, and I am the astrological counselor behind Sparky Spirit Astrology. And today I'm going to be talking about a very exciting collective transit taking place this week and next week. But before I jump into the astrological content, I would like to mention that I am a constellation-based astrologer, also known as like true sidereal. And this means that I do interpret the stars a bit differently than mainstream astrology. So you could hear some things different from me than you've heard from other astrologers. And if you're curious to understand more about what's the difference between constellation-based astrology and the tropical zodiac or mainstream astrology, visit the video link in the description below. All right, let's talk about the transit. So I'm going to give you a summary of the transit, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about astronomy and what's happening in the actual sky, and then I'm going to move on to the significance this has in our human lives. So here we go. All right, so what's taking place in the stars right now? Well, the sun, which is the most significant force of energy in our solar system, clearly as the center of our solar system, the star that powers and warms everything, the sun is coming into alignment with Pluto's current position, at least from our perspective on Earth. So when we're here on Earth, what we see is the sun and Pluto aligning in the sky. And this is just the first part of this transit. What's also exciting is this first part, the sun and Pluto alignment, is going to take place exactly on Saturday. In the morning, depending on what time zone you're in, it'll be in the morning sometime, either early or mid-morning is when the exact alignment is going to take place. But I expect this energy to continue to build through today. And when I say that, I'll share more in the interpretation section of what I mean by that. And then after the 20th, the Sun-Pluto alignment will begin to fade. But what's so interesting is that Mercury is close behind the sun. So after the sun makes this alignment with Pluto, a couple days later, early next week, let's say around January 23rd or 24th, which I believe is a Tuesday or Wednesday next week, Mercury will come into exact alignment with Pluto as well. And so this is going to be a follow-up opportunity for us to work with this transit energy collectively. And so, yeah, I'm going to show you with some visuals what's happening in our sky, because astrology for me is a game of frequency. It's a map of energy patterns, of quite honestly vibrations and shifting vibrations that mirror this internal world that we all have. And so when there's an external shift in the frequency dynamics, that is reflected in us, and also like collectively, if this is a collective transit, which this is. And so what's really, really interesting, what I want you to grasp about this transit is when the sun and Pluto are aligned, what's really interesting actually is Pluto is the farthest out astrological body that is typically interpreted, depending on the astrologer that you might see or visit. Pluto is out there in what's called the Kuiper Belt, with 1,400 other icy bodies and or asteroids. And Pluto is actually just one of the largest bodies in this belt, and it's kind of like our connection point to this very outskirt of our solar system. So we have this alignment between the center of our solar system and the very outskirts of our solar system. And in astrology, anything the sun touches in the chart is going to be illuminated. So here we really have an expansive opportunity to see a lot more operating in our life. Areas that may not have been illuminated could really just come to the surface. And I'll give some examples of like what that could look like with this Pluto-Sun relationship. But what's really interesting about this alignment is actually like the sun completely engulfs Pluto. Like the way that I share astrology with others so we understand how it works is it's actually really by photons. The sun is this key center source of energy. Really the whole reason our solar system is here. Without the sun, none of us would be here. And it warms the Earth, it warms all the other planets, it emits plasma, photons, light particles. It's actually the only source of photons in our solar system. None of the other celestial bodies produce photons. They are other materials that reflect photons back to us. And a lot of quantum research now is showing things like quantum entanglement between photons and other particles, as well as the fact that photons hold information. And so anyways, this is really where I have connected the quantum physics with astrology. Really comes down to these quantum particles of photons, light particles. And when photons from the sun are reflected off of a planet and come back to us, then we are really interacting with that photon through the planetary energy of what it was reflected from. And in this case, Pluto is not reflecting any photons to us. Photons are not coming from Pluto at all during this time. They're only coming from the sun because the sun completely engulfs Pluto. And then Mercury is to follow that. Kind of like stepping over this Pluto energy that's like reflected back to us most other times of like the transit cycle. Typically, we're always getting reflected photons from Pluto. And just to give you an idea, because this is kind of a fun fact, it takes about 8 minutes for a photon from the center of the sun to reach your skin. So if we think about that, like 8 minutes, you are interacting with a photon that was just produced from the sun. And if it carries information and, we are actually bioluminescent beings, as they've shared, we produce photons ourselves. And specifically during the brightest time of the day. There's something about our skin interacting with the energy of light that we start to produce more photons and more light emanates from us. Typically, actually the human eye is not sensitive enough to see this type of light illumination from the human body, though I will say that this is exactly why certain individuals can see auras or our energy body. We literally have light illuminating from us. It just takes this very, you got to tune into the quantum in a very specific way to connect with it. And some individuals have developed that ability. So anyways, coming back to this transit, it's really significant for this reason in that Pluto is not reflecting any photons back to us right now. It is just the sun. And then Mercury reflecting the sun's light back to us, always. So now I'm just checking my notes, making sure I don't forget anything. Yeah, let's talk about the significance now. So we kind of understand what's happening right in the sky, astronomically. Well, what's the astrological significance of this for us? I'm going to start by just describing the sun, Pluto, and Mercury and what these represent in astrology. And then go into the dynamic. So the sun, as I already shared, is the center of our solar system. And likewise, that is reflected in your energy body as your heart center, your heart consciousness. Likewise, that, the sun is the reason that, everything revolves around the sun. Likewise, like everything in your life is meant to revolve around your heart. And if it's not, then that's an invitation to maybe do some inner work and some alignment. Our heart space being like the strongest muscle in the body, the organ that pumps blood to fuel the rest of us. Like if we think about the heart in relation to the sun, there's a lot of really interesting comparisons and similarities. And so the sun is heart consciousness. It is the seat of your soul lives in the heart. The truth of who you are, your heart's desires of what you really want to do with your life force energy here. This beautiful gift of consciousness that you have as a human being, that passion, the inspiration, the inner fire, that is the sun. And this is what, and it's honestly personal power too. It's this recognizing your power as a conscious creator, a life force energy as a human. And we have an amazing ability to manifest, like simply because we can move earth through our decisions here, we manifest in the physical. And anyways, we're meant to do this from our heart center, our heart, our fire inside. So that's the heart. Let's talk about Mercury real quick, and then we'll go to Pluto a little bit more. Mercury is represented by conscious, rational mind. That's what Mercury is like synonymous with. In terms of your human experience, if I'm looking at Mercury in the chart, I am getting information around what's it like in this conscious, like rational, logical world of yours. I'm even going to say that like Mercury is what operates in the waking world for each of us, right? Like we can think we're in the problem solving arena. When we're awake and moving in life, we are thinking, okay, how can I do this thing? Oh, that's a problem. I got to solve that problem. What are the tasks on the list? We have this very logical, rational part of our consciousness that seems to be our entire world. Like this waking life and the conscious perception that you have seems to kind of be all that there is. But in actuality, this like conscious, rational part of your mind is really only processing 2% of the information available to you at any given moment. Our rational mind is very limited in its focus, in what it's aware of at any given moment. And this is really by design psychologically, because if we were aware of everything out there, then we would, like they literally say, it would be overload, we would go crazy. Which, like, side note, I think, you know, when people do a lot of psychedelics or like maybe too much or go too far like this, we're really opening up our awareness in these like psychedelic spaces, and we're absorbing more, and sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And that's like an example of like, if we were just aware of more information all the time, how we probably wouldn't be able to necessarily be very productive on this earth plane, if you will. And so Mercury is specifically related to your rational understanding of something. You're making sense of something in your world, but this is different than the heart, because the heart is irrational. You know, like I wanted to be an astrologer, even though that was kind of irrational in my belief of like today's world. Like it's not a very rational job choice, Danielle. But my heart was like, I don't care. And so the heart's irrational. But Mercury is our conscious mind, how we rationalize our hearts. For me, it really is this head-heart connection, Mercury and the sun. And that's going to matter. I kind of want you to just acknowledge Mercury and the sun are this head-heart connection. And let's just talk about Pluto actually for a moment now too. Pluto is the subconscious shadow, one of the maleficent forces in astrology, though I don't tend to categorize things good or bad. All the planets are neutral to me. And it is a matter of whether what challenges your soul chose for a reason. And it's actually all for your growth and benefit. And it's not bad. Pluto is not bad. Traditionally in Greek mythology, Pluto is represented by Hades, god of the underworld. And Pluto really is this descent into our own darkness. And to really simplify Pluto's frequency in your life, like if you are feeling out of control, possibly fear of the unknown, or forced to do something, this is Pluto arena. That's Pluto arena. Pluto deals with our like the very real reality that we are connected to other forces of energy that we don't control. You know, it's kind of interesting to think that Pluto is way far out on this outskirt of our solar system, the barrier between our kind of galactic home and in this Milky Way galaxy and everything else out there, interstellar space that we don't really, it's dark out there. It's pretty, like, there's no stars, there's not a lot of light and warmth, and who knows what's out there. And that Pluto is kind of like this portal into this space, and we see that reflected in the dynamics of our solar system. And so Pluto tends to, like, fear is really correlated with Pluto. And I want to just kind of paint some scenarios of what Pluto is correlated with, and this like feeling out of control or feeling forced to do something. Well, Pluto is often correlated with death, the concept of death, and this is a force that we are out of control over. Like we're gonna die. We cannot be like, oh, you know, I'm gonna just not die today. That is not we can't do anything about that. We are forced to die, which is actually a rebirth. But side note, that's like part of the whole Plutonian transformation, is what feels like you're heading into the death of something is really just your transformation into a higher state of being. And we can say that with death because yes, though the physical material body does die, the energy that is animating your body, your life force, is transformed. And we just know this from the principles of energy, the laws of energy, the laws of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be destroyed or created, only transformed. And so what do you think the energy that's animating your consciousness didn't just like appear in this life, because that just doesn't, that's not the way we understand science and physics. That energy that's animating your body was at one point something else. And in fact, at one point, it was a star. Majority of the atoms, you know, the oxygen, carbon atoms, there's more, not all of them, but a large amount originally stemmed from the center of an exploding star. So that's been like probably, I don't even know what to say, like millions of years or so that that energy was once in that place, but we're this now. And they're showing through the principles of quantum entanglement that we can really carry these memories and these ties to different states of being if we once had that state in a previous like existence. And so though your body dies, you're really just transforming, your energy is transforming into something else. And so that's a very Plutonian concept. Let's also talk about sex. Pluto is commonly correlated with sex. And this is another concept that Pluto is correlated with is rape, being forced to have sex with someone else. Very Plutonian concept. And this is how the human shadow can come out between us all in power dynamics and really trying to control other people comes from these deep insecurities inside of wanting to control someone else, force someone else to do something. And also that fear of that happening to us, of being manipulated. When someone secretly knows something going on that they don't tell us, and therefore we are controlled into a certain situation. Again, Pluto's secrets. All these types of things come into Pluto, and it's really around not being able to control things and feeling forced into something. And so let's go ahead and combine all of this now into something you can take away into your life. So this beautiful opportunity with the sun encompassing Pluto is going to illuminate first on a heart level. This might be something first that you connect to irrationally. Maybe it doesn't make sense right away. This principle that I will share in a moment. But then next week, when Mercury joins that alignment, early next week, we're going to have an opportunity for our minds to rationalize maybe some of the illogical insights that we get from this period or these next few days and this weekend. But this thing about Pluto and being forced or feeling out of control is actually a lot more I don't want to say for everyone, I should say there's different levels depending on what kind of life you have and things like that. But I should say I am fortunate enough to realize that in my life, a lot of these limitations, a lot of these like feeling forced to do something is self-imposed. And I'm going to use my people-pleasing and codependency as an example here. Earlier in my life, this was people-pleasing and codependency is something that I thought I would always struggle with, always, because there was this concept, this belief, this story I had around like, I have to put other people first. Because to me, if I put myself first, oh my God, it's so selfish of you, Danielle. And I would shame myself for that. And so I would force myself to put other people first, and to say yes, even though I didn't want to, and to do this thing. And I was actually just putting these chains on myself and saying like, people, and it was, I projected it onto other people. I'd be like, people need me, like, and I would get resentful and I'd be like, why can't this person do it themselves? Like, why do they ask me to do it? And like, even though I was the one who said yes, like they didn't tell me to say yes. I said yes, not because they forced me, but because I felt like I had to, but that was from me. That was my own Plutonian forcing myself to do something or feeling like I couldn't control my ability to say no to someone. And as soon as I realized that, when that was illuminated, that shadow aspect was illuminated, I was like, holy crap, I don't have to, I can prioritize myself. That's a thing. And then through the power of my conscious awareness, through exploring the meaning that I had assigned to different things and roles in my life, I was able to rewrite that story. And you get here, these concepts have been shared pretty collectively in terms of this principle of like, limiting beliefs and don't make yourself small. But we oftentimes don't see examples of this and how they operate like in every moment of your day-to-day life. Of like how we have these self-imposed restrictions. We force ourselves to do things, which produces this other part of us that feels out of control. Like, I can't control this. Danielle's just gonna say yes. And that's something in your power to change. And this heart, the fact that the sun is completely encompassing Pluto, is this moment of realization for you to say, oh my God, I was doing that to myself. Cool, I can just do something else now. And it can be that quick and that simple and that easy. And that is shadow work. That is shadow work. All shadow work is bringing the unconscious to the conscious. Once we see it, it's no longer a shadow. That's the nature of shadow work. And so it can be as easy as an aha moment for you to rewire that story and to remove the chains of forcing yourself to do something that's maybe not really in alignment, that's like preventing you from living out your heart space and your heart center the way that you really desire. So this coming weekend, so the 20th, so yeah, these next couple days it's going to build, and the 20th is when it's exact. I really encourage you to pull your conscious awareness to this area of your life, to any area, and follow the feelings of being out of control, of suffering, the stories of suffering. My codependency kept me in suffering for so long. I felt like I needed to suffer. I don't know why. There was some part of me, and that could be something that Mercury helps me understand, is why I felt like I needed to suffer. Why was that there? and suffering, out of control, and feeling forced in any area of your life. Look at these things, and check it, and check in with the heart. Do a little like heart drop in, and ask yourself, like, gosh, is that in alignment with this fire? Has that been fueling this fire, or has it been like pouring water on it? Because I think right now collectively we all are, it is such a necessity that we come back to this heart place, this heart-centered place. It is the only place that we will be able to live our lives in a place of true freedom. Freedom from these limiting beliefs and stories, feeling forced to do something out of alignment with us, things that keep us in a place of suffering. We have such power, personal power, that is the sun, to rewrite these things, to change the interpretation, to say, you know what, like, I am strong enough to say no. And actually I'm helping everyone by like not falling into these patterns of like resent and like feeling forced, and like, because let's be honest, do you want to, like, if I was just kind of coming back to my scenario of people pleasing, and you know, if I asked someone to go on a walk with me, and that person secretly felt forced to do so, I don't want to go on a walk with them. I don't want them to feel forced to spend time with me. In that case, I'm like, no, please don't spend time with me. I would rather spend time with someone who doesn't feel forced, who actually has a desire. Ooh, that's the difference. Forced versus desire. Desire is a heart thing. Forced is a Plutonian thing. So just that dynamic, really, really explore that right now. The cosmic currents are supporting you in this. And if anyone is wanting to dive in, if you're wanting to dive into this more specifically in your chart, like where is Pluto in your natal chart, because that is going to come up in this. Where's the sun in your natal chart? What is the dynamic of, was Pluto and the sun in relationship when you were born? So if you're really wanting to capitalize on this time, I invite you to book an hour session with me. I call them star sessions, and we can dive in around this specifically. I also do an offering of personal recordings. So you can just purchase a recording and say, hey, I want to know what this Pluto transit has in store for me. And I will send you a 15 to 20 minute personal recording of your natal chart, just focused on this area where I'm like, hey, you personally, here's what I recommend, like this and that, here's the opportunity for you specifically. So so exciting. I hope you make the most of this really, really beautiful cosmic time, and feel free to drop in the comments if this resonated with you. This is something I am going to start doing more of this year. 2024 is the year that Danielle shares all this astrological information in her head. So you can do something with it. So if you are into this, hit like, hit subscribe. Would love to have you part of these. I will be reporting on transits and just fun astrological facts consistently this year. So I'd love to have you join me. All right, thanks so much, and have a wonderful weekend.